When it comes to One Piece, Kaido wasn't just another villain for Luffy to defeat, but one that also mirrors him perfectly. Their fight wasn't just about potentially becoming the Pirate King, but it was also a clash of ideologies. They both believed that strength determines everything, and they were both shaped by a very brutal and unfair world. But somewhere along the way, one of them stayed true to his principles and the other would slowly abandon his. That is the foundation of their duality, which does a great job of being subtle, nuanced, and essential to the Wano saga. It's not just about power, but also freedom versus oppression, liberation versus domination, and most importantly, what it truly means to be strong. Luffy has always hated oppression and slavery on a personal level. He doesn't tolerate it or ignore it, always choosing to actively oppose it at any chance he gets. The best examples of this would be when he punched a celestial dragon without hesitation and freed prisoners in Udon without asking for loyalty or anything in return. Luffy doesn't just believe in freedom, he embodies it. When he awakens Gear 5 for the first time, becoming the new warrior of liberation, embodying the sun god Nika, it isn't just another new transformation. With Gear 5, it also feels like a culmination of Luffy becoming stronger while still sticking to the ideals that he's had from day one. He becomes the modern day Joy Boy, not because of destiny, but because his heart was already aligned with liberation long before that power manifested within him. For Luffy, it was earned, it wasn't just given to him. Now contrast that with Kaido, who enslaves the people of Wano and just people in general and forces them to eat these small fruits to strip them of their emotional autonomy. And when it comes to other pirate crews, Kaido will not just defeat them in lethal combat, but he will also attempt to break them mentally until they submit to him. He doesn't just create physical slavery, but also spiritual submission. Kaido and Luffy both share the same dream, but their methods are the complete antithesis of one another. Luffy builds bonds with people regardless of whether they're a pirate or not, inspiring loyalty without any demand along the way. Meanwhile, Kaido just builds systems of control to enforce obedience through fear, and even within his own personal life, Kaido stands alone. He has no relationships or friendships except for King, who is his one and only friend, while everyone else is just either an enemy of the Yonko or just someone to be used as either a pawn or a slave to help him get what he wants. This is also the same for his daughter Yamato, the only living family member that he has left, who also doesn't love her father very much and doesn't even like him in the slightest as well, not even a little bit. And with Kaido, he just uses Yamato as a tool to help him rule Wano. In contrast, the Straw Hat Pirates are not just subordinates that follow Luffy because of fear and power. They follow him because of the friendship and familial bond that they share with him. And even outside of his crew, people like the Scabbards trust him deeply and view him as more than just a temporary ally, and this highlights another interesting way that the two parallel each other. Kaido has followers, but Luffy has genuine friends. That difference alone explains why one liberates while the other just dominates. Another interesting way that the two parallel each other is in terms of strength. In other words, Luffy is stronger than Kaido mentally, but Kaido is stronger than Luffy physically. Until Gear 5 of course, but just stick with me and it'll make more sense in just a bit. Anyways, Luffy always had the strength to keep going mentally while also sticking to his own ideals. The perfect example of this would be during his fight with Kaido, as we see him lose many times to the former Yonko, but despite the many losses, Luffy just keeps coming back with the sole belief that he will eventually beat Kaido. Speaking of Kaido, he was too weak to keep going mentally. Physically, he's always been the strongest pirate, but in terms of his mentality, he's always lacked the edge to keep going and believe in himself, to the point where he tried to off himself on more than one occasion, and we even see him attempt to do this in his own introduction, clearly highlighting even further just how much Kaido hated himself for not being able to stick to his initial ideals and morality while in pursuit of his own dream. Kaido always lacked that mental edge to stick with his initial ideals and morality. He admired legends like Roger, Whitebeard, Odin, and even Shanks, pirates who lived and died on their own terms with conviction. But instead of learning from them, he compromises. He respects Odin, yet aligned with Orochi. He desires a glorious and honorable death, yet benefits from a dishonorable interference and tries to die in a way that is very unsavory. He romanticizes strength, yet repeatedly relies on morally corrupt systems to get what he wants, but this contradiction defines him greatly. When Kaido fought Odin, he was moments away from either dying honorably or winning fair and square, but unfortunately Orochi's subordinate interfered and robbed Kaido of what he truly wanted, a legendary end to his own life. To outside observers, it basically made him look weak, like he basically needed help to defeat Odin, which understandably affected Kaido mentally. He kills the interfering subordinate afterward, but that doesn't undo the damage to his pride and ego. But despite this, instead of rejecting Orochi after that dishonor, Kaido only makes it worse for himself by continuing to work with him, showing just how much he's willing to bend his own morals to get what he wants, and years later, history almost repeats itself. During his fight with Luffy, CP0 interferes and again, Kaido is robbed of a clean and fair victory. The universe gives him the same test twice, and both times it exposes his inner conflict. And it's this inner conflict that he has within himself, which explains the reason for why he lives obsessed with his own death. A big part of Kaido's philosophy is that he believes death completes a person. He wants to go down on his own shield, whether in a blaze of glory or through again unsavory means. However, even with the latter, Kaido isn't able to make this a reality because, as Trafalgar Law stated in chapter 662, the weak do not have the right to choose how they die, and Kaido is no different. He is strong in size and strength, but mentally he is very, very weak, constantly resorting to alcohol from time to time to keep himself mentally afloat. Now, to be fair to Kaido, his life was very harsh from the beginning, as we saw in his backstory. He was born into constant war, forced to fight on a daily basis, sold out by his own country, and was forced to endure torture on several different occasions and countless execution attempts as well. His life was shaped by pure cruelty, but so was Luffy's, sure, not to the same extent, but regardless, he still had it rough growing up. He was tortured when he was just a young kid, and ever since then he had a lot of near-death experiences and lost arguably the closest person in his life during the Marineford arc. But unlike Luffy, who always became stronger after his many struggles and setbacks, Kaido would instead justify his misdeeds due to his setbacks and struggles. But despite all this, Kaido is given the chance to face Luffy again fair and square, which later results in his defeat, where he goes down in flames as he smiles in relief. It was not meant to be a redemption for the character, but instead a completion to his arc. If death completes a person, then being defeated by Joy Boy fulfills his ideology perfectly. Now, some have argued that Kaido may still be alive and may come back later in the narrative as well, but I genuinely think that he is dead and that there is no good reason for Oda to bring him back, as it wouldn't serve any meaningful purpose for the story of One Piece. Kaido, in his own words, said that Joy Boy would defeat him. Luffy became that Joy Boy and did just that, giving Kaido exactly what he always wanted, a legendary end to his life, giving Kaido's character arc the thematic closure that it deserves, while also having his duality with Luffy be resolved at the same time. Overall, Kaido wasn't just another enemy for Luffy to defeat, he was the perfect foil to him, a mirror of the kind of pirate that Luffy could have been had he ever chosen to compromise and abandon his ideals. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. What do you think of the duality between Kaido and Luffy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and found it to be very informative, then don't forget to leave a like. Also subscribe and hit that notification bell for more anime and manga related content on this channel. This is your boy MAMZYY signing out. Take care and peace.